In preparation for their confirmation this weekend, I asked Jane and Farah to share with me a bit about some of their core principles. Tell me about a meaningful scripture, or what you believe about people and God and faith, I asked them. And wouldn't you know it, but these two curious, brave, wise young women responded with profound depth. And their words are wisdom for today. One of them said she really resonated with the gospel texts that again and again implore us, saying, "Do not judge." The other talked about hope and meaning and the importance of unity, harmony, and peace. Do not judge. Hope, unity, harmony, peace. There are no more pertinent words today, especially as we're at the end of a week with malicious packages being mailed to politicians, and just yesterday morning, someone opening fire in a synagogue in Pittsburgh. There's hope in what we gather to do this weekend. There's hope as last night Farah and Jane affirmed God's promises made to them in baptism. There's hope in hearing those two and all of us in a little bit respond by saying, yes, we do desire to live in God's covenant. One of them said one of her favorite scriptures was the transformation of Saul into Paul. Her explanation was that people could change if they find what matters most to them. I hope and I pray that for both Jane and Farah, they'll find what matters to them. That they'll find places in their lives where they do not feel judged. Find places where there's unity, harmony, and peace. And I hope and I pray that church, that is to say that the community that follows Jesus, the Prince of Peace, will be such a place for them and for all of us. As these two root in the waters that name and claim them, as they come to the table to be nourished, forgiven, graced, and equipped for life, I hope life with Jesus can be their healing place. In some ways, I hope that the gospel story of Bartimaeus' encounter with Jesus connects to their own story. Bartimaeus had been judged. Even the description of him in this gospel text, blind beggar. Even those two words, judge him. Bartimaeus called out for mercy. That is, he called out in hope, seeking healing and peace, hoping that Jesus wouldn't judge him, but rather that Jesus would nurture him. Bartimaeus' hope in Jesus was so strong that when he heard Jesus was calling him over, he flung off his cape and sprang up. And through his encounter with Jesus, he's made well. Go, Jesus says. Your faith has made you well. Today, to Farah and to Jane and to us all, I hope you hear these same empowering words. Go. Let your faith, that is to say, let your trust in God equip and send you on your journey of life. through the ups and the downs, the joys and the sorrows, the trials and the tribulations. Let Jesus' promise stir up in you so that your core beliefs, our core beliefs as people who follow Jesus, of non-judgmental peace, of unity and harmony, may spring forth from you. Or as Jeremiah reminded the people in exile in our first lesson, the people who don't know where to go or what to do because their sense of place and home has been all disrupted. Jeremiah reminds them that God's going to lead them back. Lead them back to their places of life and hope and peace and wholeness. Or maybe think of the psalm we read together, where we said, "The Lord has done great things for us." Jane and Farah, the Lord has done great things for you. This is the essence of saying yes on one's confirmation day. You're saying that you think those words are so. When I invited the two of them forward last night, they said, as we'll all say when we affirm our baptism, "I do, and I ask God to help and guide me." The great things that God does for you and for us all are ingrained in each of us, are ingrained in these two young confirmands. They witness them in their artistic expressions for us that are on display. They articulated the great things that God does for them in their desires for peace and hope and a call for non-judgmental living. In the midst of so much upheaval in the world around us, today we pause, desiring the world to be different and clinging to the promises of God for the two of you and for us all. These promises are expressed in many different ways, and yet at their core, I believe they're summed up in the last line of the refrain of the song that we're about to sing. When we sing, "You Are Mine," we will end by proclaiming God's unconditional words of grace and acceptance and hope. As God says, "I love you, and you are mine." And these 7 words expressed by God are words that all of us can affirm and say yes to. So Farah, God says to you today, Farah Grace, I love you, and you are mine. And Jane, God says to you today, Jane Catherine, I love you, and you are mine. And people of God gathered here this morning, God says to you today, beloved ones, each of you and all of you together, I love you, and you are mine. Amen.